is better for Nevada County.
So, Jason, what's this I hear that if you were elected as the clerk recorder, you would have hired your wife?
You know, to my surprise, I still get that question quite often. And I think it's a good example of how the local media up here has a lot of bias. The truth of the story is they only told you half of what happened. And I haven't really addressed it in the past because I didn't want it to come across as sour grapes. Everywhere I went, volunteers, current and former employees told me that they saw Diaz's wife working the elections, specifically that she would go and get all the ballots and transport them in her private car, the Diaz's car. They went further to say that she was getting paid more than everybody else, and that they often saw her handling the ballots by herself. Of course, I think that's a huge conflict of interest. And versus launching a bunch of allegations, I did what any good elected should do, and I went out and I investigated it. So what you saw were my initial inquiries to the county about whether or not Mrs. Diaz was hired. And indeed, as you can see in these emails, the rest of the emails that weren't showed to the public, that Mrs. Diaz was a paid volunteer, and she was getting paid more than everybody else, and she was also designated as a ballot runner. Now, that doesn't tell the whole story, but it certainly confirms at least part of it. I think it'd be pretty ridiculous, having not even been in the position to write emails, which I'm very aware of the fact are public information, to the county, trying to figure out how to hire my wife. So, you can fall for it if you want.
Cheddar is better for Nevada County.